Well, good morning, brothers and sisters at Grace Bible Chapel. I'm coming to realize that trying to do 3 videos a week is a little difficult with my current schedule. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna promise 2, and I'm gonna try for 3. So I'm gonna do my best to do 3 videos a week, but some weeks it's just not gonna work out, and I'll only do 2. But I do promise that I will do 2 videos a week for the foreseeable future. So that's where we are in these daily devotionals. We're still in the book of Mark. We're going to look at Peter's response now, and then Christ's response to Peter of Jesus teaching that he's going to die, that he's going to be taken by the Jewish leaders, and he's going to be handed over to be crucified, and he's going to die, and 3 days later he's going to rise again from the grave. And as a result of teaching this, we talked about the last time. And again, I'm going to try and stop using words like tomorrow or yesterday, just because I'm not sure exactly how the schedule is going to work for these videos. But the last video, we talked about how Christ plainly taught this, and then Peter takes him aside to rebuke him. And we mentioned that. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is that Peter rebukes Jesus. And he rebukes him because he doesn't fit what he thinks Jesus should be, what he thinks the Messiah should be. I mean, he's just made this great confession, and now Christ is saying, I'm going to die. He's saying, no, that's not how things are supposed to work. And Jesus' response to this is in verse 33. We're going to read that. And it says this, but turning and seeing his disciples, he rebuked Peter and said, get behind me, Satan, for you are not setting your mind on the things of God, but on the things of man. And there's so much in this response. The first thing that jumps out at us is how harsh it is. And it was public. You know, it wasn't just a private rebuke with Peter, it was a public rebuke. His disciples there, so he turns and he sees the disciples. You know, the disciples are there. They're coming into this conversation. And he publicly rebukes Peter. He says, get behind me, Satan. Now, that's a hard kind of a response. But we need to understand what a temptation this is to Jesus. You know, if we think of the Garden of Gethsemane, we think of how he sweat, as it were, great drops of blood, considering the cross, what was going to happen at the cross. You know, that the one who knew no sin, who did no sin, who no sin was in him, would become sin for us on the cross and take our place by proxy and pay the price and the penalty for our sin. Endure the wrath of God in our place. It was a great cost to Christ. If we even go back and think of the temptations of Jesus in the desert, one of the big temptations that Satan put before Christ was, you bow down and worship me, and I will give you the kingdoms of this world. I will give you this world. You don't have to go to the cross and pay for the penalty of the sins of the people in order to gain this kingdom. I'll give it to you. You just have to bow down and worship me. And so here, there's a parallel there between that temptation of Jesus by Satan and the temptation here. Again, you wonder if this is, you know, along those same lines. It's temptation that Satan uses through Peter to tempt the Lord. You don't have to do this. But we know that through all those temptations, that Jesus endured all the temptations and he did without sin. And so he rebukes Peter in this way, and he turns and he says, you're not setting your mind on the things of God. You're setting your mind on the things of man. You know, the things of man is an earthly kingdom. The things of man is kicking out the Romans and establishing God's kingdom in Israel and Jerusalem as his throne. The things of God is to redeem all of mankind back to himself, to restore the nations back into the family of God, to call a people for himself out from among every tribe and nation in the entire world. You know, so we're going to see tomorrow, we're going to see how he has this conversation with his disciples, and then the very next verse, he turns to the crowds and he has something to teach them. And it's significant that these things are tied together. So we're going to look at that in our next video. So I hope this has been an encouragement to you. God bless, and have a good day.